Hello, Dada Saheb Phalke Film Festival. My name is Jonathan Riles. I'm the writer and director of the short film The Amber Thief. I'm coming to you from Logan, Ohio, from Shelluster Studios, and I'm here to answer a couple of questions about the film. And without further ado, let's get started. So, coming up with the idea for The Amber Thief was a very interesting sequence of events. It really spawned from a sketch that I made when I was in the middle of script writing class. I wasn't paying attention, and I was just kind of drawing a couple of figures here and there, trying to create an image that was weird. And lo and behold, I found myself with the image of a spider and a fly dining at a table together. And the image was very ironic to me. It was very captivating. And I just found myself constantly looking at this image and how, again, ironic it was. And I stared at it long enough, and a thought crossed my mind. And the thought was, what if the fly ate the spider? And that idea spawned the plot, the execution, everything that The Amber Thief became as both a poem and a film. Talking about the roadblocks that I had starting out with this film, it ultimately came down to the script and creating a story that was both interesting but had a dark tone. And creating that script and getting that idea across was very difficult at times. And the other difficulty in particular to the script was getting the characters' emotions to come across on the screen. We see here we've got one of the spiders and the fly, and they're not exactly human. Yet, through the script, we really wanted to give them the human emotions that every character goes through. And because of the limited mobility, we had very little to work with regarding their eyes, their mouths, how they conveyed expressions, and getting that aspect of the script to actually be feasible in production with how long we had to film, with pre-production, filming, post-production, that was particularly difficult, which is why I decided to make it a poem with a narrative voiceover, because it was a way to get into the characters' heads, and that was getting to that thought and getting to that process of finding that solution was definitely a big roadblock in itself. The financial aspect of the production really came down to the actual set design and the way that we were going to animate it. This film was actually the first film that I did using actual Dragon Frame software. So a lot of the budget went towards getting that software, getting the equipment we needed for it. And the other part of the budget was getting the characters and the set, the design aspect to really be this little niche aesthetic of almost as if these characters had come out of a toy box with the yarn, with the recycled action figure, visual portrayal. One of the most difficult aspects of this film, shooting it was shot entirely during COVID. Regarding moving around the set to places where it was remote, where a very small crew could be on set with the proper precautions and everything like that was very difficult. One of my favorite parts of how I envisioned the film and how it actually came out was in particular with the spider character up here. In earlier drafts of the script, the mother spider character was very, I almost want to say Hannibal Lecter-ish, where she was more sadistic and more geared towards almost tormenting the fly, still getting what she wanted in the end. But as we fleshed out the script and we shot a lot of the movie, we found ways to make her more complex. And that's one of my favorite things that I didn't really see at the beginning of the process that kind of just came into its own, where as much as the fly is the protagonist, I think that the mother spider character in particular is much more interesting. And that's not something I envisioned at the beginning, but I'm very happy that it turned out that way. The target audience of this film is very hard to pin down because it has a very, very dark side to it, and with the grotesque violence at times, it's PG-13. I believe any kid 12 and above could probably watch the movie without being too scared. But then you have this, with it being almost a storybook, almost a Brothers Grimm tale, and that kidliness is something that is very hard to pin down to. So the marketing kind of went out the window about three-quarters of the way through because it's very kid-like, but there's very dark moments at times. Promotion and distribution plans for this film are just to get it to every festival I can. In particular, I'm hoping to get it into a lot of poetry film festivals because the poem itself is another thing that came later in the production that I think is one of its biggest strengths. And I'm very, very excited to see if it will be circulated to festivals that really have an emphasis on the written word. If you want a reason to watch the film, one of the just key reasons is to look at something different. One of the things that I really like to do as a director is take what the audience knows and flip it on itself. We all know the predator-prey relationship between a spider and a fly, but the way that they're presented in this film is very different. The spider appears very alien-like. This world has green mist. It's completely unearthly. You know, the spider and fly relationship that you might be familiar with is very much twisted in this version. So if you're looking for something different, something a little bit more avant-garde, this is the film for you. My social media links are below. I'm also a sculptor and a film producer outside of my own. So if you'd like to see any of my other work, feel free to check it out. I want to give a very special thank you to the Dada Saheb Phalke Film Festival for hosting this film, for letting it premiere in some place far, far, far away than I'm from. It's an honor to enter the realm of international cinema through your festival, and I am forever grateful, and I cannot wait for everybody in India to see this film. Thank you very much.